Begin the current Daf, Mesechtes Bava Metzia Daf Mem Gimel. Begin on the top line of the Amud. We continue to look at the next Mishnah, continue on the theme of these Mishnayos with the opening word of Hamafkid, as we discussed in the previous Mishnah regarding Hamafkid Mo'is. Continue on the theme of someone who deposits money by someone else regarding the permissibility of the shomer regarding that money, and therefore hence his liability regarding the shmira of that money. Shift corresponds with Kazakh and Cheskot, turn to Daf Yomi, turn to today's Daf, throughout the entire world. So discussing today's Daf are Hamafkid Mois Eitzel Shulchan. If someone puts his money deposited by a money changer, so imutar, and if they're untied, if the money was left open, meaning not bundled and sealed, then the Shulchan can use it. He obviously is always using money, he's a money changer. Therefore, since he's using it, if it gets lost, he's going to be responsible for ensuring the loss of that money. Nensu, regarding what happens if it's an oinus, and when does the chiyuv of oinus start for the shulchan? Hashalechid bebekadin. Some of the other terms the Gemara discusses regarding if there's a deposit and someone is shalech yad, he uses it, he takes it. When does that chiyuv start? Is it like we mentioned in the previous stuff, boichisaron or loy boichisaron? Shoyel Shloimy das Gazan Hava. If someone borrows something else without permission, is he considered as a thief? Shevach shel gezela, when someone steals something and it's still around and it increases in value because of the wool or because its offspring, who does that belong to, the nigzel or the gazlan? And finally, the Gemara discusses when someone thinks about even just shalech yad, would that already be a liability or not? As a machlekes beisham besil. Hites achaves. If someone tilts a barrel that he's watching, but not lemen revius, and he pours from it a revius and vinishbin it breaks. So then the Mishnah tells us in Risham revius, he's only liable for that revius that he takes. But if he picked it up, but not lemen revius, vinishbin, and he took a revius and it broke, then Risham make cooler because then already he did a shalich yad on the whole item, and therefore he becomes liable for incident on the whole thing. So begin the current Daf Mem Gimel, top line of the Amud. Says the Mishnah Hamafkid Mois. Continue on the theme of the previous Mishnah of someone deposits money. This case is specifically Eitzel Shulchani. He deposited with a money changer. So it says the Mishnah like this: Im Tzerudin, if the money was tied in a bundle, so that's obviously the guy wants to keep it tied up. Lo yishtamash ben, so the money changer is not allowed to use the money. Lafikach therefore Avder gets lost. In the Chabach use, he's not responsible. Meaning he's a shemechin, he's watching for free. Said no problem, leave your money here. I have money here all day anyway. And Shemechinim is pater of Aveda. So if it gets lost somewhere during the daytime, he's like, I don't know where it went, he's going to be pater. Now, let's say mutarin, let's say the money was loose. Then yishtamish behen, then the money changer could use it. Oh, lafikach, therefore, now that you're allowed to use it, you're getting some pleasure, some benefit. You're not just a Shemechinim watching it for nothing. So if it gets lost, you're going to be responsible for the money that got lost. Now, this was regarding a money changer. What happens if Eitzel Bal Habayis? If the guy deposits his money with a private person. So here it doesn't make a difference, Bein Srudin and Bein Mutar, whether the money is loose or whether money is tied up. Lo Yishtamish Ben, because you're just a regular person, I didn't expect you to use it. A money changer, obviously, I'm giving it to him, I'm expecting him to use it. So, but a regular person, he cannot use it. If it gets lost in the Chabach, he's not going to be responsible again because he's a regular Shemechin, he's watching it for free. He has no permission to use it. Now, a final case, which is a machlekes, which one do we compare it to the Shulchan, to the Balabais? Is a Chenveni, he's a storekeeper. The first opinion holds Kabbalabais Divrei Meir. He's not a money changer, he doesn't need money all the time, and therefore he's going to have the halacha like Kabbalabais that all situations he's not allowed to use, and therefore he's going to be pater. Rita says no chemeni kashulchani. A storekeeper is like a money changer. A guy who always has to have money, using and expending and then and giving change. So therefore, it would be like a shulchani where if it's untied, he's permitted to use it, and therefore then he would be chayav b'achrais. Now says the Gemara, asking on the opening case of our Mishnah, by the shulchan, you told me that if it's bundled, that if it's tied up, then he can't use it, and therefore it's going to be pot. Says because it's bundled up, he's not allowed to use it. In other words, where is the guy who's depositing and revealing his opinion that he doesn't want him to use it? Because you told me when it's untied, the shulchan is allowed to use it, because the guy who's deposited knows that the guy is a money changer. He always needs to have money. So then when there's a bundle also, he's going to use it because, as Rashi says, Everyone bundles their money together. How is bundling the money indicating that I don't want you to use it? Says Amar Rabbi Huda says no. We're talking about tzruin v'chasumit shanu. It's not just bundled up. It's bundled and sealed. That's showing I don't want you to use it, and therefore you cannot use it, and therefore you're going to be potter. Rav Mariamar, he says a different pshat. He says bekesher meshuna. We're talking about where it was a mudna. It was an abnormal type of a knot. So the guy makes a whole special triple knot, whatever. So then it's showing again that I want this to be tied up and not to be used. Ikidami, a different version actually say it's a boyer of Mari. Mari asked it as a question. Kesher meshuna mai. Would an abnormal knot also be an indicator that I don't want to use it? So the Gemara take a little stance. It's not clear according to that version. It doesn't answer the question. Now, however, the Mishnah said mutarin. If the money was loose, then yishtamash ben. Then obviously he knows he's giving it to money changer, money changer is using it, and therefore he's allowed to use it, etc. And therefore, since he's allowed to use it, actually now he's getting benefit out of it, the money changer. Therefore, actually it's michayiv b'achar yusan. Now, Amar Rav says a chiddush. He says vafila nentzu. He says, when the Mishnah said that the shulchani, the money changer, is going to be responsible now for the money if it gets lost, it's even if it's an oinis, and even if the guy didn't even use the money, because the moment that he gets the money to watch it, he's already like a shayol, where kol hana shaloi, where the guy could use it. He's not paying for the money. Like usually people have to pay money on money. Like you want to be able to have liquid cash, you have to pay 10% interest, whatever. This guy's getting it for free, your money to watch. So therefore, says the Gemara, how could you say that? Read the words of the Mishnah. Abdu Katani. The Mishnah said, Lafikach im Abdu. Why saying im Abdu? Say a bigger chiddush. Fikach im Nensu. Why saying im Abdu? Abdu would sound like he's only like a Shemer Sacher, like he's getting some profit out of it. You're saying he's like a Shayl, Chav Einzin. Says the Gemara, that's not a difficulty. Abdu could mean Einis, could the Rabba. Because Amar Rabba says, he says this on Daf Chav Tes and Daf Nun Ches, says when we say Nignevu, although generally Geneva Veda denotes like a non-oinus, like a middle grade type of thing, Nignevu could mean ballistic mezuin, could mean with armed bandits, which is an oinus. And when you say case of Avdu, it could mean something got lost. That is the armada got lost in the ocean, and we don't know what happened to it. That could be getting lost. That's an oinus. So Avdu doesn't necessarily indicate a non-oinus. So it could mean that he's chayiv even for einzin. Now this was Rav Huna, who again, Rav Huna holds that even if the money was lost through circumstances beyond his control, the shulchan is liable. And again, even if he didn't use it, he's a shayil the moment that the money is given to him because of the right that he has to use the money. And there is chayiv. But Rav Nachman disagrees. Says no. Nensu, if it's an einis, if the money was lost through an einis, then loy, because as long as he didn't use it, he's not a shayil. Specifically, if it gets lost, he's going to be chayiv, as the Gemara is going to explain, because he's like a shemer sacher. Because he does have some benefit. It's like a pay that he's getting. It's not like a kol hanashal. It's not like he's using it. He didn't use it yet. So Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav asked to Rav Nachman. He says, "Wait a second. Lididach Amrit Nensulai. According to you, that you say not like Rav Huna. You say that he's not chayiv and einzin. So Amalei Habashoy. Obviously, you're not considering the guy, the shulchani, like a shoy. Like he's not borrowing the guy's money. He's watching the money from him. He just has permission to use it. So then I don't understand. If he's not a borrower, then he's not even a shemer sacher, because what type of pay is he taking for watching the guy's money? It's just that if he wants to, he can rely that he'll be able to use that money, and if he has an opportunity. So what are you being mechayiv for? That's already she'ela, and that's kol hana shaloi. He should be chayiv an einzin. So how are you having this middle ground that you're saying he's not chayiv an einzin, but he'll be chayiv an geneva? Why? If he's not a shayil, then what is he? If you're telling me that because he could use it, so then that's a shayil. So he's going to no. Amalei says b'hamadinalach. He says even though I'm telling you that he's not a shayil from now until he actually uses it, meaning it sounds like Rav Nachman agrees that when you use it, you become a shayil, because then he's actually borrowing it. But up until then, he says, you're right. Although I say up until he uses it, he's not a shayil, but I do agree that he's going to be a shemer sacher. Why? The hoyil the nena, because since he gets pleasure, mahana, he's going to give pleasure back to What? Rav Nachman's moide to Rava, to Rabba. Rabba was asking Rav Nachman. He was saying that what's going on? What's this? If you're not considering like Rav Huna that is a shoyl. Yeah, exactly. Right. So you say right. So I'm moide that he will be a shemesacha. You're right. It's an interesting terminology, right? But that's what he's saying. He's saying to that there is something here that'll be chayiv for, and why? Because since he's having hanoah from the bailam, so he's mahana the bailam. What does that mean? So the Gemara explains. Bahu hanoah with that pleasure, the imisramile, that if it would happen, a zvina, a sale, this that he'd be able to make money. Zavim bahu, he'd be able to use the money for that. Habalai shemasacha. So that's merely the right to use the money. That itself is a gain that he's getting, and that's why he's chayv an aveda, because of the ability to use it, which is it's worth money, knowing that you have that that option. But up until you use it, you're not a shayl. But Rav Huna held you're a shayl right away. Now the Gemara. No, he's just saying. He's saying the man of shach. He's saying what's this chayv and aveda. Rabbi might have held like Rav Huna, which is that he's a shayl. But what's this middle ground? He's saying no. You could have it. Yeah, the episode benefit. So now, Eitzer Rav Nachman Rav Huna. These two disputants, Rav Nachman Rav Huna. Rav Nachman asks on Rav Huna, who says that you chayv an ointzin right away. But Mishnah Masechtas is meila. What does the Mishnah say? Mishnah says if you have a gizbar, the treasurer of hektish, hamafkid mois, he deposits money of hektish. Now he thinks it's his own money. He didn't realize the right pocket, the left pocket. One was from the hektish, one was from his own money, and deposited eitzel shulchani by a money changer. Okay. Now im tzururin, we know from the halacha of our Mishnah, if the money was tied up, we know lo yishlamish, but the money changer is not allowed to use it. Lafikach im haitzi, if the money changer ends up using the money, lo yimol gizbar, the money changer did not, the treasurer of hektish did not commit me'ilah because the money changer didn't have his permission to use it. He's not like his agent. He wasn't supposed to use it. So the shulchani will have committed me'ilah. V'mutarin, but if let's say the money was untied, which, like we said in our Mishnah, is like giving permission to the money changer to use it, and hence he's like the shliach of the gizbar. So yishtamash ben. So the money changer could use it. Lafikach ha'maitzi. Therefore, if the shulchani ends up using the money, mol ha'gizbar, the treasurer is the one that committed me'ilah, because we know in the halacha of me'ilah, shliach does work. Although generally say einodim, you can't be shliach d'va'avera, me'ilah you could be. Now says the Gemara, v'i amrit. Now if you say like Rav Huna, afila nenzum, that the Tana of Mishnah that holds the shulchan is chay b'achrayis is even by an einus, comes out that the moment that the mafkid deposits it by the shulchani, it has left the rishus of hektish and it came to the rishus of the shulchani, because it's like he lent it to him. There's no haitzah greater than that where you used it and you lent it to someone else. So the question is, Ma'ir yahaitzi, why is the Mishnah Masechtas Me'ilah saying to be mechayev the gizber me'ilah is only when the shulchani ends up spending the money? Afil lo haitzi nami. What do you mean? Even if he doesn't spend the money either, already should have been a me'ilah on the gizber. So Malay said to him, "You're right. Who had then the same thing would be avagav the loy haitzi, even if the money was not spent, because like you said, the moment he gives it to him, he's a shayel. He already lent it to him. I did on the reisha. It's just because the reisha of that Mishnah said haitzi, which the Mishnah wanted to say a chiddush the other way, that even if the shulchan used the money, the gizbar will not have committed me'ilah because the money was tied up and he was not allowed to use it. So the gizbar does not commit me'ilah. Then the sefer haitzi. When the sefer wants to say that the gizbar will be chayav me'ilah, it also says haitzi. But you're right, it's lav davka. He committed me'ilah the second he gave it to the shulchani, because that's like he's a shayel, and that's already misappropriating it when you're giving it to someone else to use. And therefore, it's not difficult on Rav Huna. Continuing our halacha, the next Mishnah, regarding this halacha of a pakadon, hashalech yad b'pekadon. Someone does shlichus yad, which is that the shomer takes the pakadon, not for the purposes of the pakadon, for his own personal needs, and then it breaks. So what's the halacha? They say Yilka bechaser, meaning, if let's say the value went down, the market price went down, he's going to pay the value, how much it was worth at the time that he did his shlichus yad, which was the moment really that he like stole it, so to speak. And that's how we know the halacha from the Mishnah Baba Kama, kala gazlanin, whoever steals, b'sham kashas exelu, you pay like how much it's worth when he stole it. Now, this is talking about where when it's used up, it's not here anymore. Meaning, if the stolen item, the pekadon that he was watching, that he used for his own personal purpose, if it was around as it was when it was stolen, he could just tell the owner, here, this is your item as it is. As we say, even regarding a matbeya that he steals and it becomes puzzle, or truma that becomes puzzle, or it becomes tummy, the Gemara says about become you could just say here, even though it went down in value, let's say a guy was shaleich yad on a pekan, it was worth $4, and then it goes down to $1. You could say, here, take it back, because it's the item as it was. So here we're talking about when we say yilka b'chesed, that he's going to suffer the loss of when it goes down, mean that he'll have to pay the higher price it was before, is if it was sold or depleted or destroyed, it's not here anymore. So when he pays to the owner, because he was shaleich yad b'pekadon, he has to pay the higher price. So he suffers the loss of the fact that it went down in value, and also the other way around, ubiyeser. What does that mean? If let's say after he was shaleich yad, he held on to the item and it went up in price, and then he went and let's say destroyed it, then he's going to pay the higher price to pay how much it was worth keshas hoitza when it was destroyed from the world. So he gets the worst of both. Says Beis Shammai, he's going to suffer if it went down, he'll have to pay the higher. He'll have to suffer if it goes up, well, he's going to have to pay the higher. That's Beis Shammai. B'Solam, they say, no, keshas hoitza. He was going to explain what does it mean as the moment of when it goes out. He doesn't say what does it mean going out from what. And the third opinion, he says keshas hatviyah. It's whatever the worth is when he brings him to court, when he claims from him the money. The Gemara can explain exactly the reason of Rabbi Kiva, but that's how much he pays him for this pekadon that he was shaleich yad. Now, relating back to halacha, the Mishnah, the Gemara introduces the following Amarog teaching. Amar Rabba, or it could possibly be Rava, as Tais Amad Beis explains. Haiman the gozel chavita the chamer mechaber. If someone, a classic lumdis in a case, someone steals a barrel of wine from his friend. Me'ikara, in the beginning when he stole it, it was shavia zuzah. It was worth 1 zuz. Hashta now at the end, when he ends up destroying it, let's say drinking it or whatever he did that he destroyed it, shavia arba, it was worth 4. So if tavra, so now it depends. The Gemara is going to differentiate if it happened by itself or if it happened through an action. Tavra, if he actively breaks it, so he drinks the wine after it went up in value. Okay, Mishal Marba, you're going to have to pay the higher price that it's right now, or 4 zuz. It for Memela, if it broke by itself, Mishal Zuz, you're going to pay the value of a zuz, which was what it was worth when you stole it. Okay, so the Gemara explains now these two teachings, when you did it actively or when it happened passively. My time, what's the reason of the opening halacha? We said again, if you stole a barrel of wine, originally when you stole it was worth 1 zuz. When you ended up drinking it or breaking it was worth 4. So we said, if you did it like that, you'll have to pay the higher value of 4. Says, well, what's the reason? So the Gemara explains like this. Because Kivin di Isa, if the barrel of wine was around now, when the guy's taking him to court, Hadra l'mara be'ina, he would have to give back the barrel of wine as it is. Because although we generally say you pay how much it's worth at the time of when it was stolen, which is not how much it's worth now it's worth 4. It was only stolen, it was worth 1. That's when it's not around. But if it's around, whether it goes up or down the price, you have to give it back as it is. So therefore, since if the guy claimed him the money when it was still around, after it went up in price, he'd have to give back as it is right now. So interestingly, says the Gemara, it comes out that Hahi shaita de koshasile. The moment he drank it, which let's say he stole it 3 weeks before, and then he drinks it at 3 weeks later, when he breaks it, he's stealing it from him. Meaning, even though he already stole it 3 weeks before, in a sense, when he drinks it or he breaks it, it's then that he's stealing it. because if you didn't drink it, you would give it back as it is. And therefore the owner would be getting back 4 zuz worth. Since now when you're drinking it or breaking it, you're stealing it, it's not. That's when Nishna teaches Baba Kama. Kala, Gazlan, and all the robbers, Mishalman, Kishas, Zela. You pay how much is worth when you're stealing. And now is when you're stealing again. And therefore, you got to pay how much is worth right now of 4 zuz. That's when you actively break it. Now, it from a male, if it breaks by itself, then Mishalman Zuzah, then you're only going to pay how much it was worth 4 weeks ago when you actually stole it from him, which is 1 zuz. Maitim, what's the reason? Because now he didn't do anything. It just burst. It just broke. So for what are you incriminating him for? He shited the guzzle when he actually stole it, when he went to the guy's property in the middle of the night, he took it out of his cellar. He shited zuzu the that moment, that kashas exela was worth a zuz, and therefore you're going to pay 1 zuz. So very fundamental difference, says Rabbah, between when you stole something and 5 weeks later it was depleted. If you actively did it, then that's the kashas exela, and therefore you're going to be chai for the higher price then. Or if it happened by itself, then you're only chai for when you stole it 5 weeks before, which is worth 1 zuz, therefore you're only going to pay 1 zuz. Now, the Gemara now introduces this regarding the halacha of our Mishnah. So now we learn in our Mishnah, Beisil Oimrim, they said that kishas eitzah. For our case, when the guy was shaleich yad pepekadin, and then it ended up breaking, so he said that you pay how much it was worth when it went out. Says the Gemara, my kishas eitzah. What does it mean as it went out? If it means as it went out from the world, meaning when it was ultimately destroyed. So wait a second. Which case is Beisil disagreeing on? That meaning there was 2 cases Beis Shammai spoke about, Chaser and Yeser. Which case is Beisil disagreeing on? Iba Chaser, if it's when the price went down, which Beis Shammai said yes, the shomer is going to suffer, and he's going to have to pay how much it was worth when it was stolen, when it was more expensive. And then that Beisil is disagreeing. They say, no, it's how much it was kishas eitzam and oilam. When it was destroyed from the world, they went down the price already. You don't have to pay the higher price. Says the Gemara, really? Do you think that there's anyone who would hold that when the item's not around anymore, that whoever stole, which is what the shomer is when the shalech yad, is not going to pay how much it was worth when he actually did the gezela, which when he actually was shalech yad, it was worth more, and he's not going to have to pay the higher price? But Vatanan, that's the Mishnah we quoted in Baba Kama. Whoever steals pays how much it was worth when it was stolen. So it was a higher price then. So why would Beisil hold that, when it actually broke, it was lower, and he only has to pay the lower price? But no one would hold that. And if Beisil is saying his halacha, that when do you pay kashas eitzah, which is when the price went up, well, Hainu Beis Shammai, that's exactly what Beis Shammai said. Beis Shammai said if the price goes up, you have to pay how much it was worth when the barrel broke. So how can we translate Beisil? We're leading to a point over here. As Gitin Tamid Beis, Elipshita, this is the Gemara, and that's why we introduced Rabbi's teaching first, because we're about to ask a question on him from the halacha of our Mishnah. Because Elipshita says the Gemara must be Kashas Eitzah me Beis Bailim. Beisil cannot be saying Kashas Eitzah, meaning as it what it's worth when it leaves the world, because then we said it doesn't make sense. If it's going down, he wouldn't hold that, because you have to be, everyone agrees you pay kashas exel, and if it goes up, well, that's the same thing as Beis Shammai. What would he be disagreeing on Beis Shammai? Oh, so you're asking Taitz's, I think what you're going to ask is really you're asking Taitz's kasha on top of Ahmad Beis, but we'll get to that in a second. But first the Gemara says that it must be how much it's worth when it leaves the owner's possession, which was as the time when you stole it. And what's the machlekes? Machlekes is that when the price goes up, Beis Shammai said, if it goes up, you're going to suffer. You have to pay how much it was when it was yitzim in the oilam. They still are saying that no, it's how much it was worth when he took it away from the owner. So then says the Gemara, if that's the case, then Lema Rabba Dama Beis Shammai. Sounds like Rabba, who says that you pay the higher price of later is like Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai is the one that says Yilka b'yeser, and Beis Hillel is saying no, you don't have to pay the higher price. Pay how much it was before. But Taisa asked, he says, what do you mean? Why can't you say the machlekes is when it breaks by itself? And then actually Rabbah is like Beis Hillel, because when it breaks by itself, if you recall, Rabbah said you don't pay the higher price. So Taisa says no. If that would be the case, Beis Shammai wouldn't disagree. Beis Shammai wouldn't hold. It doesn't make sense. How can Beis Shammai hold you pay the higher price later on? What did you do then? You didn't do anything then. Svara wouldn't make sense. So the Taisa says that Beis Shammai wouldn't disagree. So the Gemara understood that must be that Beis Shammai Beis Hillel are only talking about when you actively break it. If you actively break it, Shaila is, do you pay from what it was originally or now? Well, Beis Shammai seems to be saying what it's right, the high price right now. Well, that's like Rabbah. Comes out that Rabbah is not like he's that he's like Beis Shammai. Rabbah tells you like this. Now, I'll explain to you. B'yeser, and says the Gemara, when it's the higher price, kulam aloi pligi, that no one's going to disagree that you're going to pay the higher price that it went up, that it's right now. Which we said makes sense. That's really Rabbah's halacha. That if you stole it, was when you, again, the stealing or shaleich yad, we it's the same thing for what we're discussing. So the guy was watching a bakad and he was shaleich yad, and then a few weeks later it went up in price. If he breaks it then, yes, everyone agrees to Rabbah that you're going to pay the higher price. Ki pligi b'chaser. Machlekes is when it goes down in price. And Beis Hillel was saying, kishas haitzah means how much it's worth when it leaves the world. But then we had a question. We says, how could Beis Hillel say such a thing? Didn't we say all the gazlanim pay as it was kishas hagzela? And therefore, if the price goes down, you shouldn't be able to get off the hook. You should have to pay how much it was worth the higher price when it was before. So that the answer is, you're right. If it's literally stealing, where someone stole something originally, you're right, that would be the halacha. But over here, by the shomer, it came to him permittedly. Why are you being mechayev him? Because he did shlichus yad. Oh, so that's the machlekes Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai specifically regarding a shomer of shlichus yad. Why? Beis Shammai savi Beis Shammai hold shlichus yad ein tzich gesarn. That shlichus yad does not have to have a chesaron, and therefore the moment that you did a shlichus yad, even though it's not lacking, it's gezela. So it's already in his reshus. Oh, okay, so that's Rabbah's halacha. When it goes down, it was already in his possession, it's going down in his possession. And you're right, if it was around, he would say Rishal Chalafanecha. But now that it's destroyed from the world, he has to pay how much it was worth, Kishas HaGzela, which is what it was when Rishal Yad, because it was a Shlichus Yad then. No, Shlichus Yad Tzrichis Yad needs to be that you diminish the value. Now, the Chi Chaser, here when it went down, B'Shusa Demare Chaser, because you didn't do a full-fledged Shlichus Yad because it didn't have a Chasaron. So if it was going down, it was still considered like it was in the owner's possession, and therefore, when you ultimately destroy it, you're going to be chayiv only on the cheaper price. Now, says the Gemara, the problem the Gemara has with all these different pshatim is that Rava l'shitase, if it's all Rava, or if not, it's just asking on Rava's halachas. Elahada Amar Rava, as Taisa explains this, and the Ramaschal Ella. But then what do you do with Rava's teaching that we have in Daf Mimal from a base? He said shlichus yad ein tzricha chesaron, that if you touch the item that you're watching, you don't have to be lacking anything. So then lema Rava dama Beis Shammai. So that it sounds like you're saying Rava like Beis Shammai. You just told me machlekes Beis Shammai is about if shlichus yad tzricha chesaron or not. So according to Rava, the whole that you don't need to have, it would sound like he's like a Beis Shammai. So the Gemara says, okay, right, no, elach my skinan. What are we talking about over here? Is Truth is, it's not talking about shlichus yad. Rather, it's where the guy moved the pekadin because he wanted to step on it, let's say, to bring birds. Is regarding if someone borrows something, which is what he's doing on the pekadin, without the owner's permission. Bishamay Sabi, the Bishamay hold Shol Shlema Das Gazan Hava. If you borrow something without someone's awareness, you're a robber. And therefore, when it went down in value, it's in your possession already, the Shemer, because you stole it, so to speak, by borrowing without permission. So therefore, you're going to have to pay the higher price. Basil hold no Shol Shlema Das Shoyel Hava. If you borrow something without permission, you're a borrower, you're not a Gazan. When it goes down, it went down in the possession of the owner. Therefore, when it ultimately gets destroyed, you only pay the lower price, not the higher price. The Gemara, however, has a difficulty with this also. What do you do with what Rava says in Bava Metzia Daf? He says, Shol Shlema Das l'Rabbanan. Gazlan Hava says, according to Rabbanan, Shol Shlema Das is a Gazlan, because this is regarding a case of when someone sends his son to the storekeeper, Machlekes Rabbanan Rabbi Yehuda, and Rava explains the Machlekes regarding Shol Shlema Das. And he says, according to Rabbanan, you consider Gazlan. So, as Rashi explained, from the fact that Rava explains the Rabbanan like that, obviously because that's how he holds the halacha, that it's a Gazlan, and therefore he tries to explain the Rabbanan, who the halacha is like the Rabbim, like that it's a Gazlan. So if that's the case, you just told me that the Machlekes B'Shamai is regarding Shol Shlema Das, if the Gazlan or not. Rabba, who says that you're a Gazlan, would then be like B'Shamai. Tell the rather says the Gemara, a fourth pshat. Actually, it's a very different interpretation. We're talking about the increase of a value that was stolen, as Rashi explains, that when the Mishnah said chasa b'yeser, going up and going down, was not regarding yukra v'zula. It was not regarding price going up and down. It was what it goes down in the animal itself is lacking, let's say the gizers, the shearings of the wool. And when we say yeser, it means it goes up because it increases, because let's say it became impregnated by the shomer. Bishamay Sabri, that Bishamay held Shvach Gezela, the increase of the stolen item, the Nigzul Hava, belongs to the victim. As we're going to quote in a moment, the Brisa, the Meir says, Hakol Yishalmi has to pay everything back. Basil hold no Shvach Gezela, the Gazlan Hava, the increase of a stolen object belongs to the Gazlan, like Rabbi Yehuda, who says you only pay to the victim how much it was worth when you stole it from him. So therefore, if it goes up or down, in other words, if it increases in value or in the item itself, that belongs to the Gazlan. And it's a pluk down the Tanoi. It's the following machlekes Tanoi. Tanoi Linda Brisa. If someone steals a sheep, either one, that's like chasa b'yeser. If he shears the wool, or if it gives birth, Meir holds that you got to give it all back. The shearings of the wool and the offspring, chasa b'yeser, you got to give it all back. It all belongs to the nigzal. Yudah says no, the stolen item goes back as it is, meaning you don't have to give the shearings of the wool or the offspring. Whatever was taken or given, it goes back as it is. Oh, so that's the machlekes that we have also over here between Bisham and Basil is regarding this halacha of Shvach Gezela, if it's the nigzal or it's a gazlan. That's what I mean, chasa v'yasser. Chasa v'yasser doesn't mean going up or down in price. It means simply what was taken or added on to the animal. And says so it has nothing to do with the halacha of Rabbah at all, ultimately. So it says the Gemara Dekanami, precise reading also indicates that the machlekes b'sham is regarding gizes and vladis. Because the Tani, what the wording of the Mishnah when we said was a lashon of chaser and yeser. It doesn't say the more classic terminology of zol v'yoker, because b'shami, they say yilka b'cheser b'yaser. He has to suffer what's lacking, what's added on. They say no kishas when it was taken out from the world, shmamina. From the Bailam. So shmamina, obviously that's the machlekes is regarding the machlekes between Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, nothing to do with Rabbah's halacha, not talking about price increase or decrease, and therefore it's not a stira to the halacha of Rabbah. Now the Mishnah had said a third opinion. He says kishas hatvia, that the price that you pay is not like Beishamai or Beisil. It's not kashas haitzah, or it's not like Beishamai, like regarding Yilka b'chesa b'yasa. Rather, it's how much it was when the guy brings him to court. However, the value is worth then. That's how much the shemer has to pay. Some of you the Mishnah says Allah Rabbi Kiva. Allah is like Rabbi Kiva. But Rabbi Kiva agrees. The makom shesh edim, when there are witnesses how much it was worth on the day that the shemer had stolen it, and they saw that he stole it from him, then he has to pay how much it was when he stole it from him. Says he my time. What's the reason for Rabbi Kiva that he says that in general you pay kishas tzvi how much it's worth on the day when he takes him to court? Because the pasuk in Miyikra, Lasher Hulai, that the one that it is Yitinenu b'yamash masa, he gives it on the day of his guilt, meaning the pasuk is talking about regarding someone who takes someone to court and he swears regarding if he owes the money or not, but the value of what it's worth that day that he owes it to him, which is on the day he takes him to court. Now, where the guy claims of him and he admits, where he's guilty based on his own admission, so yeah, the day he takes him to court and his admission is the day of Yomesh Masa, the day of his guilt. But that's what the Gemara was saying, that V'kiven the Ike'edim, or when there's witnesses, Mahu Shaita, from that moment that he stole, who the Chayv Le'ashma, then he's already liable for the guilt. Maybe didn't take him to court yet, but he's already have witnesses. And therefore, from that moment, is you pay that value. But the Gemara doesn't like this. Rabbi Hudi says, Rebbe Ato Emekein, my teacher, you really say, because this was Rabbi Huda saying the name of Shmuel, you really say this? But Hachi Amar Basi Amar Rabbi Yechanan says, Chalakah Rabbi Kiva disagreed. Even when there are witnesses, no, you don't pay when the witnesses saw when he stole. Only again, Kashasa Tvia. Mike Tem, what's the reason? Because the Amakar, the pasuk says, La Shehulai, to the one that it is, Yitnen to be a Meshmas, he's going to give him the day of his guilt. Now, it's not the witnesses, it's the court through the testimony of the witnesses that then they incriminate him. But how could you say it's when the witnesses saw it? Even if there's witnesses, it would only be Keshas Tvia. So, because of this testimony of Rabbi Yechanan that was said, so only Rabbi Zeir, Rabbi Abba Papa. Rabbi Zeir said to Rabbi Abba Papa, Ki Aslas Lahasam, when you go up there to Eretz Yisrael, Akif, so go make a circuit of your route and go the longer way for this to go the path Asuma de Tzur through the heights of the mountain of Tzur, and go to Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, and ask him did he hear from Rabbi Yechanan, his teacher, regarding this halacha of halacha Rabbi Kiva in halacha Rabbi Kiva? Does the halacha follow like him or not? So Amalei said, Hacham Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said, halacha Rabbi Kiva la'olam. Halacha is always like Rabbi Kiva. Says my la'olam. What does it mean la'olam? So Ravashi says, Shaloi Tomer. Don't say Hanamili when we say this. That's kashasa tviyah. Is only heichad like a edim. Only when there's no witnesses. Aval heichad again when there are witnesses. Then loi. Then we wouldn't say it. That's what we're saying. No, like Rabbi Yechanan said. Even Rabbi Kiva says, even there are edim, it's not going to be kashasa gzeil. It's only going to be kashasa tviyah. That's one interpretation. Over another interpretation. The reason why it says la'olam is to tell you that because if the hadrula duchte, if the shomer put it back in its place after he was shaleach yad, and then it broke with an oinus, even over there, halacha is going to be like Rabbi Kiva that we had said his opinion of Memam Abayz regarding someone who steals a lamb from a flock, that you need to have das bailam when you return it. That's what saying that Rabbi Kiva, halacha is like Rabbi Kiva always, meaning lafuka Rabbi Shmuel. Dama that he says lo bin das bailam, you don't have to have the owner's awareness when you return it. Mashmalon to bin das bailam, that even on that halacha is like Rabbi Kiva that you can be chayiv even in such a situation when you returned it. But for Rava Amai says halacha is like Basil, which you pay keshas hagizela, not keshas atvia. And Rashi tells us that we do like Rava because he's what's called a basra. He's from the later Amaram, and therefore actual halacha is not like Rabbi Kiva, not keshas atvia. Rather, it's like Basil, which we explained on the top line of the Amid, is keshas etzama beis bailam. It's whatever was worth when it left the owner's domain, because we said it's the machlekes Rami and Rabbi Yehuda regarding chasa b'yesers, regarding if it got sheep, I mean if it had an offspring and whatever. So that's like it's like whatever was worth then, you give it back however was worth that time. Now the last Mishnah of the parak continues on the theme of shlichus yad, hachoshev l'shloich yad b'pekan. If someone even just thinks, which Tais explains, this thinking doesn't really mean thinking. As Rashi also explains, it means speaking, because as the Gemara is going to tell us, we actually learn that from the words al kol davar, which is from the terminology of dibur. And even says Taisis, when we talk about the machshav of pigul, that also means dibur and not just thinking in your heart, like it's obvious from the Gemara Masechta Zvachim and Menachos and other places. So therefore, although we use the wording of thinking, he said in front of witnesses, I am going to take this guy's pekan that I'm watching for myself. So the Beis Shammai say that chayiv, he's already liable from Einzin from now on, and if an Einz happens, he's chayiv b'chrais, even if he just said, he'd never even touched the item. So they say, no, he's not liable until he actually goes ahead and moves the guy's item. It says in the pasuk in Shemais, if he didn't stretch out his hand in his friend's item, which sounds like you have to actually stretch it out and touch it. Now, unrelated halacha says the Mishnah, hites achavis. If the shomer goes and tilts the barrel that he's watching, but not lemener revius, and he takes from it a quarter of a log of wine, and then at a later point in time the barrel breaks. So ein mishalim, he doesn't pay el revius only for the revius, because shlichus yad, the fact that he touched the barrel, is not making him liable in einzin until he does meshicha, he pulls it, or he does hagbah, he lifts it up, which would be a kinyan. Here he was never kained. He took a revius, so obviously has to pay him back for that, but he's not chayiv for the einzin of the barrel. But if he lifted it up and then he took the revius, then he acquired it with hagbah, with picking it up, and is also, even if you hold shlichus yad tzrichas chesaron, there's the lacking of taking the revius, and then a few months later, when his breaks, he's chayiv in the einzin, b'sham to make kula, he'll have to pay the whole value of that barrel. So the Gemara continues on top of Memdal Manalf and says, where do we know this source of the machlekes b'sham esil? Are you chayiv for just saying what we call machshava, or you chayiv only for action? So the term in the Brisa that elaborates on this machlekes. The pasuk says in Shemais, "I'll call dvar pesha." Now, although that generally means anything that's a negligence, but we know the word dvar is also the word as dibur. So b'shamim they say malamet shel chayiv ala machshava k'maisa. We see that you're liable for a thought, which again Taisi explains means a speech like action. They say no, you're not liable until you actually stretch out your hand and you move the item for your personal reasons. Because the pasuk before that says that it says that so the homeowner comes to the courts and he has to swear if he didn't stretch out his hand in his friend's item. So you see, it's only with actual stretching of the hand. But on that, Bisham tells Basil, but it says I'll call Dvar Pasha. It says that even for Dibur you can be liable. Bisham responds back and says, yeah, but it says it has to be with his hands. So Basil responds and says, okay, so what do I do with your pasuk of Dvar? That sheyachol, you would think, that the shomer himself, he's the only one that's liable if he stretched out his hand. But if he tells his servant or to his agent that they should be shaleach yad, and they do it, how do you know there's michayev? That's what the pasuk is teaching. I'll call Dvar Pesha. You're right, you need an actual shlichus yad, but even for just telling his shliach to do it, he's going to be liable for that too. Now, the final halacha of the Mishnah was, if the shomer tilted the barrel, he removed the revius of wine, but he didn't lift it, afterward the barrel broke, so he's liable to pay only for the revius that he took, but not for the rest of the barrel. So the Gemara qualifies this teaching. Omar Rabba, he says, Loi Shanu, we didn't learn that where he takes a revius, but he doesn't pick up the whole barrel, that is going to be putter, that's Ella Nishbara. That's only if it ended up breaking, which is a oinus, and he was never kained to be chayv in oinsin. So that's where we say he's putter on the rest of the barrel. But if, let's say, the barrel ends up souring, which is his negligence, he actively destroyed it because the fact that he took some wine caused it to ferment and to spoil, because that's what happens with wine, that it ferments when there's a very little amount in the barrel. Then Misham is cooler, then he has to pay the whole thing. Right, then what's the reason? Because Giri Didehu Dahanila. It's his arrows that caused it that it should sour and should turn, and therefore he's chayiv for the whole barrel, even though he didn't do hagbah. Now the final halacha of the Mishnah of the parak is a gebiyah. Now, if the shema lifted the barrel and he removed the revius of wine, and then after the barrel broke, then he's liable to pay for the whole barrel. So, and the reason for that is because he was kainu with hagbah, and he's also it's a shlichus yad as a chesaron because he took from it a revius. Now, Amar Shmuel, he says the truth is loy notl mamash. It didn't mean that he takes revius, means literally he takes revius. It's just because he picked it up to take, even though he didn't take the revius, he's really chayv and ointzin of the whole barrel, because he did a kinyan bagbah, which is shlichus yad, and it's considered that is chasar. Says the Gemara, what? Wait a second, but he didn't take. Is that to say that Shmuel holds shlichus yad in its chasar, which we said is like Beishamai? Is that like if he didn't? There's no lack. He didn't take anything. So is that what he holds? So Amri, they said no. There's a lumdus over here. Loy. No, it's not the case. Shani hachi, here it's different because the nichile de tahava hachavas kula. this guy, the Shlomo, prefers that the whole barrel should be a basis, a station, lahor revius, for this revius, that it should protect the revius that he wants to take and that it shouldn't sour. So like Rashi explains very interestingly. The truth is, in general, when you're sheleach yad and some other bakadon, there has to be chasar, has to be lacking. If someone takes a bakadon and he picks it up with the intention of being sheleach yad, as long as there's no chasar, he wouldn't be chayv with his agbah, because he didn't take it on the intention of stealing the whole thing. It was only to be sheleich yad. Now, sheleich yad without a chasaron is not a sheleich yad. But by wine, where it's not protected only when the vessel is full, it's as if he took it and he put it back in with the rest to be protected. So therefore he's a shoyl on the rest of the barrel. That's the lumdis where he wants it to be a basis. So he's stealing the revius. So even though he didn't take it, he wants to take it. He's shaleich yad and he's stealing the revius, but he just didn't take it out because he wanted to be protected. Therefore he's chayiv on the whole barrel. Now, Boyer Rashi asks an interesting question. He says he'd be an arniki. Let's say the guy picked up the guy's purse that he kept by him. Litlam a dinner. He wants to steal, he wants to take a dinner from it, but he didn't take it. According to Shmuel, ma wad halacha be? What's the question? So, would you say chamer hu delay minter ilagav chamer? Yeah, by wine, it's only protected with other wine. So therefore, even though you didn't take it, it's like you want it to be this, like you took it and you put it back in. Avol minter, but a coin is protected on its own. He doesn't need it to be together with all the other coins as a base. So therefore, it's not like you took it and you put it back. So therefore, then you wouldn't be chayiv because you didn't have a chesaron yet. Maybe no shanin introduced the arnikim and introduced the dinner. No, maybe the protection of a wallet is different than the protection of just like a quarter, because a full wallet is visible, it's protected, and it's not so easy to get lost like just one coin. So maybe it's like he took it and he put it back, and maybe it would be a shlichus yad with a chesaron, and if it would be chayiv, says Gemara, take a let it stand. It's not clear what the halacha would be. Hadin lach hamafki. We shall return to the third parak in Mesechtes Bava Metzia Daf, which obviously, like the title of the name was, Hamafka is primarily about deposits, about a shomer watching a deposit, and then Mitzvah will continue with Hazav in the next Daf.